Thank you, King Gary. He knows what I'm talking about. He knows, he knows what I'm talking about. Peace, family, peace. It is wonderful to see you here today. Why don't you go ahead and give yourselves a big Black Klan clap for coming out in such large numbers, because you know it is an absolutely beautiful day that the Creator has given to us today, and we need to celebrate it. And as we celebrate it, recognize that there are people who would like for you not to be here today. There are people who would like for you not to remember what happened in this space and in many spaces around this country. And I'm talking specifically about the enslavement of our ancestors. And I know that even some of those people look like you and me. I know y'all heard what Brother Snoop Dogg said just a few days ago now, right? You heard this on Instagram, that he was going to boycott anything that represented the enslavement of our African people. Did you hear this, family? And as a historian, I actually wanted to get angry with him at first. And then when I listened and read his words a bit more carefully, I recognized they were coming from a place of pain. And I understand that pain. I know you understand that pain. But one of the reasons why he made the comments he did is because the emphasis on what happened to us as we were enslaved has been placed in the wrong place. And I know you've heard us talk about the Emancipation Proclamation, and when people talk about our enslavement, they often make it sound like it came to an end because good white folk came into their right mind. Isn't that what they tell you? I know my grandmama, I know your grandmama had this too, had a picture of Abraham Lincoln on the wall and said he was good white folk. And he helped white folk understand what they were doing was wrong. I wish I could actually say to her lovingly that that was the wrong emphasis to place on the end of our enslavement. In fact, on the entire period of our enslavement. Let's be clear about what Abraham Lincoln did and how we should actually look at this period of our enslavement. So I'm going to say a few things about him and perhaps shift the way that we're thinking about this period. First of all, do you know that even before Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president, was elected, before that period, he was very clear in these discussions that are often called the Lincoln-Douglas debates. He was very clear that while he saw enslavement as an evil, that if Africans were to be freed, he wanted to be clear that he didn't think that you'd be able to serve on a jury. He didn't think you should hold elective office. Look at our elective brothers and sisters here holding it down for us. He didn't think you should play those roles. And he said that long before he was elected president. But when he was elected president, that was when the South decided they would secede and they would fracture the Union. And so before he actually was inaugurated, what did he do? He sent his emissaries to tell the South that if they would just come on home and come back to the Union, that he would actually pass a law saying the federal government would never end enslavement. Did you know that Abraham Lincoln, good white folk, did that? Did you know that? And so that there was this war, correct? And enslaved Africans, our mothers and fathers, thought that this would be the opportunity for us to get our freedom in this country. And in fact, they wouldn't have to escape to Canada or to parts of the North where enslavement had been abolished. But instead what they would do is they would simply run to the Union line that was now at the South, as the Union Army was fighting the secessionist Confederate Army. And guess what those Union soldiers did at the beginning of the war? They said, no, this is a war for the Union. This isn't about enslavement. We're going to take you back to your enslaver. Did you know that the Union Army did that? But the story does not end there. Because understand that as the Union, as the North was losing the war, then Abraham Lincoln decided that he would do what others had been telling him to do for a long time. What did he decide to do? He said, I'm going to sign the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation, threatening the South that if they don't come back to the Union, we're going to not only free those enslaved Africans in their territories, but we're going to let them fight. Now, let's be clear about this. He didn't say that he was going to free those enslaved Africans in places like Delaware that were still with the Union. He didn't even say he was going to free enslaved Africans that were in Tennessee, a place that the Union had fought and taken control of. He was not ending enslavement with the Emancipation Proclamation. He was simply putting forth a military document that would allow him to defeat the South and reunite the Union. So that this Emancipation Proclamation was a strategic guide for him to win the war, not a guide to abolish or end your enslavement. But then what happens when he signs Emancipation Proclamation? Brothers and sisters who had escaped to Canada, free brothers and sisters in the North, and even those who were enslaved in the South began to take up arms and to fight. And within just a few months, the tide of the war had turned. In fact, it was Frederick Douglass that said that once we got bullets in our pockets to fight for our freedom, no one could hold us back. That's the story of our enslavement. That's the story that Brother Snoop Dogg needed to hear so that he would not be coming to this from a position of pain. Because we should recognize that this day commemorates not our enslavement, not our victimization, but our victory over the most inhumane institution that humanity had ever seen. That's what we should be remembering. We shouldn't have a picture of Abraham Lincoln or anybody else on our wall other than brothers like Gordon. Who knows Gordon? Now, I know some of y'all been reading Seven Little White Lies, right? Some of y'all know Gordon. Gordon is that brother that some of you have seen. In fact, I even saw a brother with a shirt as we proceeded over here. He's that African that had the stripes on his back, that had been whipped. Who of you haven't seen that image? But see, that's the image they would like you to remain with. They don't tell you that that same man, first of all, we know his name and we know what he did. He actually escaped from Louisiana, and within 8 days he had actually fled 40 miles barefoot to the Union line. And as he gets there, what does he say? He doesn't say, look at the stripes on my back. I paid my dues, I'm free. What does he say? He says, I'm not free if what? We're not free. I'm not free if what? We're not free. And so right after they take that picture of the inhumanity that had been visited upon his back, he puts on a Union soldier uniform and goes back to fight for our freedom. So it is today that we should remember names of individuals like Gordon. Say Gordon with me. Individuals like Harriet Tubman. Say Harriet Tubman with me. Individuals like Martin Delany. Say Martin Delany with me. These individuals fought for our freedom. And so as we think about this great day on Juneteenth, we have to remember that this day is truly about our victory over enslavement. That we are the people that chose to survive and that we remember. Thank you. Peace. Peace, brothers and sisters. Peace.